Hello, Global Voices. My name is Jer. My pronouns are they and them. I'm in Mexico City, and this is a video about the special categories system on Global Voices. I am making this second video to clarify some of the things that have changed and to make a nice, tight, quick video. You can see here, we already had a video about this, which was pretty long, and 23 minutes. I spent a lot of time describing the system and how it works. I'm not going to do that this time, but please go check out this other video. I put some time into it, and it covers a lot of what's in the guide that I'm not going to cover here, in the favor of instead covering exactly how to use the system for editors and for translators, and giving as much detail as possible and giving you an overview so you can work with this guide. This guide is the real source of information. It's got an excruciating level of detail about everything you need to do. The problem is it's too much. It's overwhelming. I'm sorry. We're working on it. You can learn about that in the other video, how this is all a work in progress. But for now, I want to give an overview so you know what is involved, and then you can come back and look at the specific parts of this document later. I also wanted to just let everyone know that in YouTube, there are speed options. If I'm going too fast, please come here. You can put it at 0.75. You can put it at 0.5. Slow me down. I just want to get on a nice steady pace for the people who understand that and are busy. But if that's you, no worries. Just slow it down a little bit. And if you're bored, please speed it up too. You can go up to 2 times as fast. Good luck. All right. Coming back to the guide, I'm going to start by talking about the process of creating a special category and the term post-draft, which is at the heart of it. And then I'm going to talk about the translation. For translators, hopefully this isn't frustrating. I think seeing the process of how the original thing is created will help you understand how to translate it. And a lot of it is the same stuff in both cases. So if you really need to, you could jump to the end and read the translation, check the translation stuff, but I recommend looking at it all. So, okay, so what are we talking about when we look here at the sections? I'll just point out at the end, there's this section called Explanation of the System. If this is your first time interacting with this, it would be great if you took a look, because it has quite a good explanation. But again, I'm not doing that. So we're coming back to the top. So we're going to start by creating the term post draft. And what I'm going to do is I'm on the test website here, and we've got a term that doesn't have any term post draft. It doesn't have any custom content. In the real site, this exists, but we're working on the test site here. All right. So to start, just to go over, what are we talking about? We're talking about the special coverage that goes in the top right usually. And what it is, and if you click on the all special coverage, you can see it's a list of special topics, and each one of these is a category. They're special categories in the post editor, and so we can assign posts to them, and then people can come and view them, and then it's simultaneously a category. So this one, Pride 2021, right? You can see it here, Pride 2021. It's a series of posts, and so I just tagged some posts with LGBTQ issues. This is not actually the posts from this special coverage, but that's okay. What we want to do is add a bunch of content at the top that provides context and gives a kind of intro article to it, right? And so the way we do that is by modifying this category and all of its settings, and I'll show you how that looks. Right in the category edit screen, historically we didn't have a lot of stuff here. It was just the name and the slug, but now we have the name, the slug, we have the description, which we don't use, and then we have some new stuff: taxonomy archive header, excerpt, tagline, term featured image. So some of this is new even from the old system here. Now, so what we're going to do is, because this screen is not easy to manage. There's no versions, so you can't go back in time like you can with a post. There's no attribution, and there's no way to work together on something. If 2 people come and edit this, they step all over each other. So what we're going to do is use the term post draft. And what is that? It's simple. It's a post. Okay, so we start by just creating a brand new draft post. Totally normal thing, right? And as everything I'm doing is listed in these instructions in the temporary special category guide. But if I come back to our draft, the first thing we want to do is label it as term post draft. Now this has no special effect, okay, other than making it easy to identify and find these special posts. And then I'm going to put the title. So I already know I have my category with my posts. That's the title. So I'm going to take that and paste it in here. Term post draft, Pride 2021. This way, if you ever need to, you can go to the all posts, search for term post draft, and find the draft. Thing about this is we're never gonna publish it. It's only a draft. That's its entire purpose. And the purpose is gonna be, spoiler alert, we're gonna create the content in here, and then we're gonna copy it into the category once it's all set and reviewed and we've tested everything. All right, so we start with the term post draft. Then the next thing, and translators, you don't have to worry about this, but the editors on the English site creating it, they're going to come over here. This is just a gist on GitHub, so it's just a way for me to share a text file that I can update if I want to. And like I just updated it today, for example. So it's different than it used to be. And there's a link to it here, HTML template for term post draft in the instructions. But if you're doing this a lot, you can just bookmark it. And what this text does is if I come back to my post draft, and I go to text because I'm going to be pasting some HTML. I've pasted the content in, and this gives me a template for what I need to have in the term post draft, right? So read the guide and instructions, right? Temporary special category guide. That's going to link you back to here. So if you're looking at one of these, or if you translate this post, that's how it's going to work for translators. You're going to translate this post and then start working with it as this term post draft that never publishes. You have the guide right there. So it's right there at your fingertips. You can go back and review the details. Then there's some space for things that we might want to have, like link to the special category and full-size featured image, which we'll talk about in a sec, and space for the shortcode and the taxonomy archive header. And I'm going to fill this out. Basically, it's a form and you fill it out. And when you're filled it out, then you're done and you're ready to start implementing it into the category. So as an example, I'm going to take the text here again. I'm going to paste it into the link. So that link to the special category, food, Pride 2021. That way we have easy access to it here. And if the person translating it later, they'll have easy access to the link to it. Full-size featured image. I am going to do that in a second. I'm going to do that after I've set some stuff up. The shortcode, we'll talk more about the shortcode. But the important thing to know here is that it's GV term promo, and then it wants to know the term and the taxonomy. The taxonomy of all these special coverage, these ones, is GV_special, because it's special categories. And the term we can get from the URL of the term. So if we come back to the term page, we can see test.globalvoices/special/pride-2021. That is the term in the format that we need for this. It's the term slug, which just means that kind of series of text with no spaces in it. That's a slug. Okay, so this now is ready to go to promote this term. It's the term promo. But first, what we want to do is create the taxonomy archive header. This is going to be the body of the post, okay? And as an editor, you're basically writing a post. So I've got some text I'm going to copy and paste in just to act as a placeholder. All right, so we imagine this is a post. There could be links, there could be quotes, there could be all kinds of things. Here, let me quickly add a quote, and I'm going to also come up here and I'm going to add an image, and I'm going to do it in the normal way. I'm going to go add image, I'm going to upload files. I've got a nice LGBTQ related image of an ofrenda from Mexico here where I'm living. I'm going to let that upload, and then I'm going to insert it into the post as you normally do. All right, so LGBTQIA ofrenda in Mexico. All right, always put in alt text on your images. You gotta, don't forget. Okay, we're going to put the size. I'm going to put large, like a normal one, and insert that into the post. All right. So now we've kind of our taxonomy archive header. It's basically a post, right? And we can imagine the content could be whatever you wanted it to be. Now, you could, okay, now we can come and look at the rest of our posts. So for one thing, there's no excerpt. All right, so I'm going to come and take a little bit of our text just as a sample and go to excerpt. Down in the excerpt box, we'll put an excerpt. And then I also want to have a tagline. So I'll put a tagline, and that'll just be an even shorter version. All right. So now we can come up in here and see that this is all green, although I don't know why it's green because we don't have a featured image. So we're going to set featured image. And even though we're not going to use all of this data as is, it's for the translation because the translation needs this data to be all prepared so the person translating it can understand it. So I'll set featured image. All right, so now the image is in the post like normal, but it's also in the featured image like normal. Okay, so I'm never going to publish this, but I'm going to save the draft just to be sure. And then we're going to come back and review things. So for one thing, we can preview this. Let me just let it finish saving. Okay, we can preview it to make sure it looks right, as always, before you publish. So it's got a bunch of stuff, right? We're going to leave that alone because what we want is just to make sure that the taxonomy archive header section looks good, that this is the kind of post that we're expecting. All right, looks good. We can come back and we can see our shortcode is working mostly. It's a link to the category, which is all it is right now because we haven't set up the category yet. But later, it'll automatically have an excerpt and an image, and we'll see how that works. But just to finish off this term post draft, for the sake of translators, the important thing is that when someone imports this as a translator, they're not going to be able to have the featured image available for the next step in the category. And I'll explain that a little more, but for now, the important thing to know is we need to include the largest version of the image at URL in this, and we put it here in this spot, okay? And we can get it in a couple of ways. One way is to go to the media thing, media library, click on the image in question, and then here, copy link. This link here is the full size. We uploaded the original, and then WordPress recreates the image in multiple sizes. Like if you come here and say size, you can see there's an 800 pixel one, there's a 400 pixel one, there's a 200 pixel one. The one that we want is the full size, right? And in this case, you can see it's very big. So that's good. So we want to come get that URL, copy, and we're not going to insert. We're going to close this, and we're just going to paste it in here. Okay, paste. Okay, well, yeah, that happens. Sorry, yeah. If you paste it, it'll just create the link to the URL, but instead we can make it simpler and paste the URL itself, and then hit Command-Z for some reason. But what you want to get is this, okay? What we want to get is to the point where it's just the URL, nice and simple. Okay, and that will be useful later, and I'll show you how to use that for translation in a sec. Now, at this point, we could save again, and we are ready to start the next step, which is to actually edit the category. So in real life, you will then send it to the editor and someone will review it and there'll be some back and forth. Maybe you can use edit flow, which is another one of the reasons why we have this, is so that we can have an edit flow conversation if we want to. All right, up next is the actual category, right? And so something to keep in mind about the category. The post, this part, anyone could work on this. And if you're translating, any translator could take the URL, and I'll show you how to do it, and translate it. But the editing the category can only be done by certain users, specifically site managers on a Lingua site and managing editors or administrators on the English site. So you might not have access to this, and if so, you have to talk to the person who's above you in the site who has access to everything. And the reason is you can do damage editing categories, so you have to be careful. Specifically, never edit the slug of a category. Always leave this alone. Even on Lingua sites, never translate this. Very important, or things can break. All right. So what are we going to do? We are going to fill up the important content of the category so that based on the term post draft. So starting, I could take the taxonomy archive header and put that in the taxonomy archive header box here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the text mode on each one to avoid any issues. And so I'm going to come find the taxonomy archive header. That's the heading. And so I'll just take everything, I'll take everything that's below this as HTML, and that's the image tag and the paragraph tags. And I am going to come over here in text as well, right? You don't want to paste HTML into the visual because then you get this kind of chaos that looks a lot worse. So I paste the HTML in there, come back to the visual. All right, we could see that's the content we expected. Now we can come back, go back to visual, and we could say, okay, well, there's also an excerpt. So we'll come take the excerpt, and we've already made sure that the length is good. The category won't check the length, but that's what's perfect about this. It tells us 18 out of 30, lots of spare room. We come back, all right, we put that in the excerpt field of the category, right? We're in the edit special category screen here. And just as a reminder, if we were looking at the category, we could come up to the top and click edit special category button, and that would take us. If you don't have the edit special category button, because you're not that administrator role and you need to talk to someone who has access to it, and potentially we can get you access, but that is a different topic. So coming back, we've also got our tagline, right? Just good old fashioned tagline. And we put it in here, and now it's a newfangled term tagline. All right, and if we save here, I'll just save for now to show you what happens on the category itself, right? So we're still looking at the category. I can reload this, and boom, we're now looking at the same category, right? At the bottom, we see the same posts, but now we see the taxonomy archive header content. We also see our tagline shown like a tagline on a post. So that's brand new, but there you go. It's all working. And the crappy thing is just that you have to copy it all over from the post into the category, but it enables Lingua to use the post, and it lets us manage these things in a really sensible way with the multiple users and all the things that are useful. All right. That is the editing the category. Okay, so now the category is ready. And actually, we can come back to our, we had a preview of this. I'm going to open it back up. And now that we've had the preview, we should see that everything except the image is showing, right? So in the shortcode, which was this little piece of text, GV term promo, right? What WordPress does with this shortcode is it renders it into the promotional box for the category. So we can see the name, we can see the excerpt, but we don't see the image because we have to come back here. And on the site with the original term post draft, you'll be able to go to term featured image, and it says add image. And this is basically just like the featured image box on the post, right? You can come to all your images, click on it, all right, and select. And then it's going to show it there. And you've selected it, and we can update. Okay, sorry if I'm taking too long on this. This part is actually a little bit obvious, and it should just work like we expect, which is that, okay, when we come back here and reload the preview of the term post draft, and we look at that shortcode, there you go. The image is there because it's in the category. All right, it's trickier for Lingua. So that's the simple version. The Lingua version's harder, but boom, we're done with that, and we can move on to the next step that's described in the guide, and that is to add this to the all special coverage page. So if we come back, what we want to do is take our shortcode, because this is the thing that we're going to move around on the site, put in other places in order to create links and images that lead to this, right? And so the first place we want to do it is in this special coverage page. And so this applies to the editor who's publishing it. On the English site, they'll come and edit the page. And I know it's already there, but I'm going to add it at the top now with the new image that we set up. Okay, waiting for this to load for a second. And as you can see, there's already a bunch of old ones that are already there. And one of the things that's changing, and you can see this really clearly, in the old version of this, you had to type in, or you had to paste in the image URL and the excerpt manually here, and that was no fun. So on the new one, it's just going to look like a bunch of these, which is really nice. Just the only thing that will change is the slug so that it'll show a different category, but each of the categories will have its metadata incorporated, okay? And if I preview, this is a great time to make sure the shortcode is working, because I can preview and see, all right, that's the correct image, that's the correct title, that's the correct excerpt, everything is working. Wonderful. Okay, so by adding it to the special coverage, what we do is we ensure that there's a listing. We have a historical memory of all of them. People can come back and find them. And so on a Lingua site, it's the same thing. There should be a special coverage page. And if there isn't, you can create one. And there's a guide on the community site about that if you're looking for it, or you can talk to me, or you can talk to Mohammed El-Gohari, our Lingua manager. Anyway, this isn't the Lingua section yet. So, but either way, we can come and we can update our post and have that update this page, which is it's a page. And So that is the second last step before we get to translation. And the last one is, oh no, the third from last. Oh my God, there's a lot of steps. So the next one is widgets. So if we go to widgets, which is under appearance widgets or admin widgets. And once again, this is a context where not everyone's going to have access. Site administrators are the main ones who have access, which includes the managing editors on the English site. Okay, and I'm not going to try and explain this, although I promise a video at some point for Lingua managers on how to use these widgets. But the main thing to understand is that there's a specific sidebar that controls the home page of the site. And that is the featured posts sidebar optional, okay? And what that means is featured posts is this slider thing, and featured post sidebar is this thing that's next door to it, okay? And the reason is we set one widget that goes there, and that's where you put the special coverage. That's how you get it to show. In the old system, it would show automatically depending on which pages were there. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, don't worry. You don't have to learn it. It's old. It's gone. But in the new one, you do it manually, at least for now. Hopefully, we can make that easier. For now, what we need to do is get that short code into a text widget here. And we could see here that there is a text widget already there. I'm going to replace it with the new one. So this is what you would do on a day-to-day basis. You'd come to the home page. You'd say, oh, we've got a new special coverage. We want to promote it instead of this older one. We're going to come and take the shortcode, GV term promo, and replace it. Okay, save. And then when we come back to the home page, we should see the new one. And it should look nice and have a nice big image. And there you go. At this point, for what it's worth, if the excerpt is too long and it makes it look tall and it looks weird, feel free to go back and fix the excerpt in the category edit screen. Right, so you would come back to here, you would edit it in the term post draft to make the copy accurate, and then you would come and edit the category and edit it here as well. And then this is the one, when you update this, that's going to update the excerpt that shows there. Okay, kind of recovering some ground, but hopefully that's useful just to contextualize it. Point being, we've got the shortcode in the list of all special coverage, and that's great because it means this page has all of them. So if you ever want to change the home page, you just come to the special coverage page, or edit it, and then pick the shortcode that you want to put on the home page, and then come back to the widgets and update this widget in the featured post sidebar, and there you go. You'll have changed it. Now, the other thing just to note is there's a little link here, a class equals more link. And what this is a link to the special coverage. So we make a manual link to the special coverage page, and then that has the nice effect that it says more special coverage, and it leads you to that page with all of them, so that people who are like, oh, I want more content like this. Okay, that's the concept. Also, we use it ourselves to go find them. So it's useful to have there. And if you ever lose that on your site, or you're an editor on English or on a Lingua site, I have in the instructions here. So we've gotten to adding the shortcode to the all special coverage page, promoting special categories in a widget. This is what we're on right now. And just to point out that right here is the exact HTML that you can paste into the bottom of a widget below the shortcode if what you want to do is get that more link and make it look like the English homepage. All right. Thank you for your attention so far. If you're not a Lingua translator, the last thing you need to see is just the spreadsheet, which, do I have it? Anyway, I can open it up here. It's linked at the top of this document, and it's the special coverage terms database. This is brand new. We just created this, and the point of this is to keep track of all of the categories. So you can see all of these categories that we've created. Pride 2021 is the equivalent of the one we were looking at. And then their term post draft. So the editor who creates this term post, this special category and sets it all up will then come and put it here. And this is for translators to be able to come and find the information. And so as a translator, when you want to translate something, you don't bother with the English site. Come straight here. You have the name and then a link to the live version. So this is on the live site of the special category with the text and the posts. Now, the thing to keep in mind is that's for the translator, and then that's it for editors. So theoretically, editors, you can stop here. Although if you're an editor, please continue watching so you know what the translators have in store. Basically, the thing about translating them, moving into the translation section, is that you can't take this URL and translate it. Why? Because the translation system only works with posts and pages, and this is a category URL. So you can't use the category URL, but guess what? Perfect. We have something you can translate. Okay, I'm going to close this. I'm going to close this. We know what those are. I'm going to find the term post draft, because here's the beauty. We have a post that has all the content, so you can translate this. And the best way to translate it is to take the preview URL, right? We already saw this when we previewed it, but the funny thing is you could take this URL and put it in the translation system on a different site and it'll work even though the post isn't published. And you just have to remember not to publish it. And that's what the editor will put here. So when you want to translate, and you probably don't even have access to the English site to edit that post, but you can come here and find the URL. So you would copy it and then come to your site and translate it there. And that's the first step of the process. So I'm going to come, here is the test Spanish site, and I'm going to añadir to add a post, right? So I'm just creating a new post. I'm translating like normal, except what's not normal is where I get the URL, which was on the spreadsheet instead of by visiting the actual content. So I come here, I paste in, nope, that's not the right thing. Okay, no, but what I want to do is this URL, and then actually right click and copy link address. So now I should have it paste. Great. Okay. Test.globalvoices, that's the site. The post, you don't get the URL. The URL is just the post ID, but it's okay because it should work. Let's cross our fingers. I didn't necessarily test this immediately in advance. It might take a second, but it should work. And what we're going to get is an exact copy, as we always do in the Lingua system, of this post. And what we're going to do is just go through and translate the parts that need to be translated to prepare our own version of the term post draft in our language. And then we will move on to copying all the information into the category just like the original editor did. Okay, so here we are. I'm going to say ES, like, right? You would translate this. You would translate this title. But for now, I'm just going to write ES on things. So link to the special category. This one is going to be to the English one. We could update it to the Spanish one. Importantly, we're going to come here and we're going to translate the whole taxonomy archive header, of course. That's the core activity that we need to make sure, because that's the content that needs to be in Spanish. Note that we don't want to translate this stuff, right? This is the help stuff. We don't need to translate the link to the guide. We definitely don't want to change the do not publish list. Leave that alone to remind yourself not to publish. But yeah, so the main things we're going to publish are the archive header, and then we're going to come down to the excerpt, make sure that's translated. And then, no, don't worry about that for now. And then we can come up and find the tagline and translate the tagline, right? And as usual, the validator in the top right knows, hey, there is a tagline, but it's exactly the same as the English one, and it should be different because this is a different language. So it's going to give you the warning. So you can use those warnings, right? And have that all ready to go. Okay, so we've got our content translated, we'll imagine. And what we want to do is now go to our version of the category. So here's a tip. If we have the link to the category, one thing we can do, because this URL should be the same across all sites, regardless of the language, and because we keep the slug of the category the same, the URL will be the same. We can always do test ES. So in this case, if you were visiting the category and then you were at globalvoices.org, you could type es.globalvoices.org, and suddenly you'd be looking at the same category but on your site. Okay, and this is an interesting moment because we see on the Spanish site there's no posts in this category, and so that's a good thing to consider. Is it worth translating the special coverage intro text if it won't have any posts below it, because it's designed to introduce the posts, not to necessarily be content of its own. So if there's no posts here, you might want to instead go back and find the category page that you're thinking of translating, and then get someone, you or someone else, translate at least one of these posts so that there'll be something below it. Although if you think that they'll be translated eventually, you can create the content now and have the posts fill up later. All right, so we'll ignore that for now and just proceed with the assumption that there are posts, or there's going to be posts, and that it's worthwhile for us to do all this translation. Okay, so now that we're here, and just for the sake of it, the other way to find this is in the admin under posts. We have screens to edit our taxonomies like categories and tags. And in this case, special categories. These kind of things are going to always be special categories because we're not adding new categories because that list is already too long, as you know. Oof, that's a lot of stuff. But the special categories are in the second box, and it's less stuff, and it's all weirder stuff, really specific stuff, not general stuff. But if you want to edit them, you come up here and special categories. I'm going to open this in a new tab. Okay. And now it's the normal category edit screen. Again, you'll only be able to see this if you're an administrator. We can come and type pride and search, and then we will find our thing. So that's the other way to get here versus opening up the category and then clicking edit category screen. If I do that, we're going to see we have, these are two tabs with the exact same content. So that is fine. And what we're going to close, we'll make sure we only have one, because if you have two and you save them both at different times, they'll save over each other. So be careful. I'll try to be only one person at a time working on this. And then we continue with our same process. So I'll go through it one more time. We can take the taxonomy archive header, copying everything leading up to the H3, and then pasting it into the text version. Okay, but it has ES at the start, just to say that it's the Spanish version. We can go to our tagline, take that, paste it in to the tagline, go back for our friend, the excerpt, paste that in. After translating it, of course, on the term post draft. All right. And now there's one more thing, and it's the featured image. And here's the thing. When we go to add image on the Spanish site, after importing the term post draft, it's not here. Okay, our media library, which might take a second to load, it won't matter because we're not going to see that image because it wasn't uploaded to this site. So what we need to do in order to get it into this term featured image, we need to upload it here. And lucky us, the editor who created the term post draft had this in mind and put the full-sized image URL. So we could take the image URL, copy it, open a new tab, and just visit it. All right, here is the image. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this over and save it on my computer. Maybe you can't see that, but it's okay. I'm going to come back to the term featured image and go add image. And now I'm going to upload it. So upload, select files, and here it is, the new version that I downloaded just now. Open, let it upload, and then select, and now it's there. Okay, and so I'm sorry about this part. We're gonna work on it. It's gonna be better. Watch the other video, but the final system is gonna be based on basically just translating a post, what feels like a post, and then having it all work automatically. But I don't know when it'll be done, and so I'm trying to make it work as well as possible as I can right now, and that involves getting you to download the image that is linked here to your computer, re-uploading it and saving it, and then that will let us update the category, and it's going to mean that now our category screen, if we go view category, close this. All right, so now we can see that what is this? Yeah, okay, I accidentally have the more content than I wanted in here. What happened? Okay, I accidentally kept the heading things you worry about. But when I pasted too much of the term post draft. And so it showed the wrong content. And we ended up seeing the promo shortcode output, which is good. We could test this. It has the image, it has the excerpt, everything is working properly, except that on the actual category page, we don't want to see that. What we want to see is the title, the tagline, and then the taxonomy archive header, and then we would see the articles if there were some, but there are none right now. So if you're a translator, that's the process. And then at this point, you've published the category. You leave the term post draft as a permanent draft. You save it, but never publish it but you have it ready. And like an editor on the English site or wherever they're coming from, if you ever want to edit the category, you come to the term post draft, you edit it here, and then you copy it into the category to make sure that you don't have edits on the actual category. It's tempting to come here and edit it, but if you did and then you tried to change it later, it wouldn't be in sync, and that would be a problem. Especially on English, where if you make edits to this, you want them to be available to translators who translate it after you've done the edits. Hopefully that makes sense. All right. Now, as a translator, you still have a couple jobs to do. For example, you're going to want to come to the home page and make sure that so I won't go through it here, but like on the English site, there should be a special coverage page with all special coverage listed, and you want to make sure it's on that special coverage page, right? Adding it here to this list on your Lingua site, and then assuming that it's ready and it's relevant and there's some posts at the bottom of it, then you come and you update the widget. And once again, you could just come. If you ever forgot one part of this, come to the document, find the correct section, and follow the instructions. But the point being, you want to be managing on your Lingua site which one is showing. And when there's a new one and there's some posts on it, probably a good time to update the homepage. But maybe you wait a bit and update it. Maybe you have a couple and they're both new and you update them back and forth. And every few days you just change the widget to be something that's useful for you in that moment. All right. That's it. Wow. If you watched all of this, you're my favorite. I hope it works. I hope I can get a better system coming soon that doesn't take 37 minutes of recording to get to the point of it. But please check it out. If you have questions, if there's something confusing about the guide, please go ahead in Google Docs and add comments. Just select it, add a comment. This is super confusing, right? Whatever you need to say, let me know. Talk to me on Slack. I'm on Slack as Jer. Just search for me. I'm on the Lingua one and on the main one, and I'm happy to answer your questions and try and make this work as well as possible. Thank you so much for your participation in GV. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope this work makes your life and your GV life and your site a little better. Talk to you soon.